It's Thursday night, which means week 11 of the NFL season is about to start. And without further ado, that means it's time for me to give you my top 10 teams in the NFL at this moment in time. At number 10 right now, I have the Dallas Cowboys. They're coming off a pretty bad loss against the Packers last week, especially a Packers team that had been reeling, hadn't been playing well. They gave up 3 touchdowns to Christian Watson, who some people could say might be a breakout star. However, when he breaks out against your team, I think that's a problem. I think a lot of their issues really sit on the offensive side of the ball. For one, Ezekiel Elliott does not look like the same player that he used to be. As such, Tony Pollard should be getting a majority of the carries, but he's not. I think this little split back system that they have right now isn't working. When Pollard gets the ball, he looks electric. He adds a juice to it. When Zeke gets a carry, it looks sadly just like a lesser version of what he used to be. And going on from that, this week they've made headlines by their wide receiver, CeeDee Lamb, coming out and saying that, hey, we need another number one receiver, which brings up the question of, well, you had one, it was Amari Cooper, and then you traded him for nothing, and you got nothing back. I think this Dallas team is a bit overrated from the preseasons. I do not think they're a Super Bowl contender anymore. I think Dak Prescott is a very good quarterback, but to me, he just seems like an upgraded version of Kirk Cousins, honestly. He's going to put up really good numbers, but I don't really think he's going to take them to the next level. He's just not that guy. I see this offense going maybe 1 or 2 wins in the playoffs at this point in time. Granted, anything can change, and if they do get Odell Beckham Jr., that would change things a bit, depending on what type of Odell we have coming back. He's coming off of several surgeries here. Like I said, I think this is a safe spot for them right now. I was tempted to move them behind some other teams, for example, the Jets, who I'm starting to fall in love with, but I just couldn't do it just yet. Dak Prescott's a better quarterback than Zach Wilson. At the end of the day, I think quarterbacks still run the league, and if the teams are close, I'm going to go with the team with a better quarterback. At number 9, I have the Tennessee Titans, who are also playing tonight on Thursday Night Football against the said Packers. Now, I think this team is talented, don't get me wrong. I think they're one of the best coached teams in the entirety of the NFL, that's why they're in the top 10. My one issue with this team is I think they're going to get too one-dimensional on offense later in the season. Specifically, they traded A.J. Brown when they really shouldn't have traded A.J. Brown. If you look at their offense, what are they missing? A stud wide receiver on the outside that can win one-on-one matchups and catch the ball deep downfield. I think that would have taken Malik Willis' development to the next level, especially early on. I really do like Chigo Okonkwo, their tight end out of Maryland. Go Terps here. I think he's going to be a fantastic mismatch, being that he's a little too quick right there for a lot of linebackers, but he's still bigger than a lot of corners and way too physical. But he's not ready yet to shoulder the entire passing offense either. This team is young. I think they're exciting, but they're about here. They're a very good football team. They're going to give anyone a game, as you saw last week when they gave the Chiefs a game. But they really aren't a top 5 team in the league at this point in time. At number 8, I have the San Francisco 49ers, who are coming off a pretty hard-fought victory against the Chargers last weekend. Now, you might be saying the same thing. Hey, you talked about quarterbacks. Jimmy G probably is not better than Dak Prescott. And I would agree with that. I do not think that Jimmy G is a better quarterback than Dak Prescott. But the difference with the 49ers versus the Titans and the Cowboys is the 49ers are loaded everywhere. The 49ers are loaded on defense. The 49ers are loaded on offense. They have the best left tackle in football right now, Trent Williams. They have arguably one of the best running backs in the game in Christian McCaffrey that can do everything. You have Deebo Samuel, who's a Swiss Army knife that can also do a lot of things. George Kittle, one of the best tight ends in all of football. Oh, and Brandon Ayuk is a very good wide receiver. When I look at the roster for the 49ers compared to the last 2 teams, it's night and day. I don't want to say night and day, that is a stretch, but it is a noticeable uptick in talent. Plus, going to coaching here, I like Mike Vrabel, and I think Mike McCarthy is a solid coach, but neither of those two, I think, have the offensive capabilities that Kyle Shanahan has shown. With that in mind, I just have to give the 49ers that slight edge when it comes to the rankings right now. I think they're going to gel a lot more as the season goes on. I'm still trying to wait and see. I just want to know this. If Jimmy G is going to just, get out of his own way and possibly lead this team to a Super Bowl, because they're so talented, I think it's doable, but I'm just not sure yet. At number 7, I have the New York Football Giants. Now, I know everything I just said about the 49ers, and I know that I just used that in relation with the Titans and the Cowboys, but hear me out here. When it comes to this Giants team, I don't care. I think every year there's 1 or 2 teams that just believe in themselves. For whatever reason, they believe. They buy into the coach, and they just win football games, and that's what I think these Giants are. I think they're just going to win football games no matter what. I love him, Brent. Brian Daboll is the coach of the year right now, in my opinion. I don't think it's close. This team was an embarrassment last year, and to be honest, after the Eagles loss, they're still in it when it comes to the thick of winning the NFC East. Like, they're not off by a far means. I saw earlier today the Giants have an over 80% chance to make the playoffs. That's by the ESPN FBI rankings. I'm sorry I don't have the exact name by that, but it's one of ESPN's 30,000 different ranking systems. This football team, they're winners. They're definitely a top 10 football team. It's hard not to argue that. If you want to push them back, I'm completely okay with that. I think there's a fair argument for any one of, I think, two teams behind us. I don't necessarily think the Cowboys, because personally I think they're better than the Cowboys, but I do think you can make an argument to push them back a little bit farther. But at this point in time, I'm all in, man. I'm in with them. I'm on the Daboll train, guys. Giants at 7. All right, at number 6, we have the Miami Dolphins, who are right outside the top 5, but I think you could easily make an argument that they are a top 5 team right now. Tua Tagovailoa, he's firmly in the MVP discussion, in my opinion, even with them being on a bye this week. You could also make an argument that Tyreek Hill is also in that discussion, and if I'm being honest, what NFL team right now can you possibly say that they have 2 guys that could be in the discussion for MVP? Not many. My big issue with this team earlier in the season was I wanted to see a more consistent running game. Now, they traded for Jeff Wilson Jr. He made a big splash in the game last weekend. If he can continue to run the rock with some consistency, take a little bit more off of Tua Tagovailoa, because don't get me wrong, the high-flying offenses are great, but I think every coach and every team tells you that when it comes time for the playoffs, you need to be able to run the football. If they can run the football with some consistency, then yeah, they'll move into the top 5 easily. And to be honest, they're low-key a Super Bowl team that you should look out for. I don't know if they're as talented, around the team as some of the other teams higher up, like the Chiefs or the Bills or the Ravens, but they can play with anybody right now and they can score with anybody. Mike McDaniels as a head coach, I think so far has been a success. However, I do want to see what happens to him, when playoffs come, but still, they're buying in down there. And like I said earlier with Daboll, when guys start to buy in, they're dangerous. Right now, the Dolphins are at 6, but watch out here, especially with this bye that they're on right now. If they come out fresh and they start hitting it, they're going to fly up this thing. At number 5 here, I have the Buffalo Bills, who are currently in danger of having their game moved to Detroit this weekend. If you don't know, they're playing the Cleveland Browns up there in Buffalo, New York. But the issue is there's a once-in-a-lifetime snowstorm, lake effect snowstorm, that's going to drop 6 feet of snow, I think, between now and game time. Personally, and it's just me being selfish, I hope they don't, because football in the snow just looks cooler. I know it's terrible to play it. I know the players hate it, and I'm just being a fat fan, but please don't move that game, NFL, if you watch my crappy YouTube video. But back to the team. The Bills, they had a tough loss this weekend going up against a Vikings team that has shocked a lot of people and proven a lot of people wrong. I'm not going to move them down because that Vikings defense has speed on it. Offensively, they have a stud in Justin Jefferson, and they also have Dalvin Cook, so it's not like they lost to some scrubs there. The Bills, they're still loaded. You still have Steph Diggs. You still have Josh Allen. That defense is still solid, and they have Von Miller off the edge there, who I know is going to make another big play for them at an important moment, like he did earlier this season when he came in and had that game-saving sack against the Chiefs. This Bills team is fine. I think they're just going through a slight slump right now, but they're good. I think people are overreacting. These slumps happen. It's a long season. They'll figure it out by playoff time, and to be honest, I think you're going to see either Mahomes, Allen, or probably Lamar in the AFC Championship game or the Super Bowl. Number 4, I have the Baltimore Ravens. As I said last week, the Ravens have found their identity. They can run the football now. Lamar is Lamar. He's an MVP candidate level player. They need to pay him his money. He's a franchise quarterback. I'm not going to keep going on this because they're one of the best teams in football. I don't really think there's much of a debate there. In their division, granted, the Bengals seem like they're starting to kind of figure it out, but I think this is the Ravens' year. The Steelers are a non-factor, and the Browns are an absolute mess right now. And even when Deshaun Watson comes back, what's the Browns' record actually even going to be? Defensively, them going out and trading for Roquan Smith has paid dividends already, as he flashed several times in the Saints game. He's a quick, fast linebacker, someone they needed in the middle. They've drafted several linebackers in the past in the middle, but none have really worked out to the level of Ray Lewis since he's left. I am not, and let me be clear, not saying that, Roquan Smith is the next Ray Lewis. He isn't, but I think he's a solid force in the middle where they really need it. The quarterback and the defense. This team's good. They're going to go deep into the playoffs. Let's move to the next one. At number 3, the Minnesota Vikings. I didn't think they were going to go up there and win, and they did. I especially thought if Josh Allen played, there was no chance they could win, but they did. And I need to give them their respect. This team's good. This team is good. I have so many reservations about Kirk Cousins in big moments. So many. But I can't argue with their record. They're 8-1. They just keep winning. At this point, I have to buy in. I think they're a real team. As I said before, super nervous about what's going to happen to Kirk Cousins when the playoffs get here. But until that moment arrives, I'm going to give them their flowers. One of the best teams in the league. Congratulations, Viking fans. Number 2, the Philadelphia Eagles, who went down to my Washington Commanders on Monday night. And I don't want to say the word exposed, but it was shown that you can gas them a bit up the middle with the run game. Now, Brian Robinson, they didn't have a great night running the ball, only 3 yards a pop, but still they were effective and got done what they needed to get done. And in retaliation, the Eagles and their amazing GM, being who he is, they've already gone out and signed Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh. So the one issue that they had ever since Jordan Davis went out might not be an issue anymore. This team they're just loaded everywhere, honestly. You're just going to have a night where you out-physical them like the Commanders did, which is rare. I don't know how many teams have 2 interior linemen like Payne and Allen that can really cause a disruption against their offensive line, because their offensive line is great as well. And now that they bolstered their defensive line, I think it's going to be that much more difficult for other teams to run against them again. They're not going up against my Commanders anymore, so I don't know how that's going to go. But I am interested to see how they play against the Giants, because Saquon is a monster to carry and they scheme really well. I think that's a game that's going to determine who actually wins the NFC East. I don't think it's the Cowboys. Sorry, Cowboys Nation, kill me later. Well, they aren't as well-rounded as the Eagles. Number 1 has to be the Chiefs here. They've got the best quarterback in football in Patrick Mahomes. And while I thought they'd have a much bigger drop-off losing Tyreek Hill to the Dolphins in the offseason, it hasn't really happened. They've still been the same old Chiefs team that can score with anybody, out-talent anybody. Andy Reid is a master play caller. He's one of the best head coaches in the game, a future first ballot Hall of Famer. Right now, I think the Chiefs are playing better than anybody else in the league. I think they're a nightmare for everybody to guard, because Patrick Mahomes just does stuff that not anyone else can do. You know, the same way Lamar is elusive and Josh Allen is whatever the hell Josh Allen is. Pat Mahomes is Pat Mahomes, and I think he takes his team to the next level. Defensively, Frank Clark is one of the best, defenders in the league right now. He doesn't get the credit he deserves. They are the class of one of the hardest divisions in all of football. I had a tough time because, one, the Eagles news today about Linval Joseph and Suh kind of made me want to put the Eagles back at 1. But, like I've said for the majority of this video, I believe in quarterbacks. And I think once you have a generational guy like Pat Mahomes, I have to give him the nod. I think overall that Eagles team is just a little bit more... They're definitely more well-rounded. No, not a little bit. They're definitely more well-rounded. But I'd have to give the nod in coaching to the Chiefs, and I have to give the nod at quarterback to the Chiefs as well. Plus, the Chiefs have more experience going deep into the playoffs. That Eagles team, I haven't seen anything out of Hurts in the playoffs yet, man. They went to the playoffs last year. He didn't do as much. Until then, if I think things are equal, I'm going to lean with the better quarterback, the better coach, and a team with more experience here. So right now, as of right now, the Chiefs are number 1 on the power rankings. I appreciate you guys for watching this video. If you'd like to go subscribe to my channel, maybe give a like, and hey, even share the video, I would love that so much. I plan to have a lot more content coming up for you guys. I'm working on a video right now. Every single scandal that Dan Snyder has had as the owner of the Commanders. It's a long one, but I think you guys are really going to enjoy it when it comes out. I appreciate doing this. As I said before, I am Blitz Pizza. Thanks again for watching this video, and hey, enjoy some football this weekend.